Welcome to the second hour of the show. Texas Tech becoming one of the hot topics heading into this new college football season. Red Raiders in the news cycles with big-time recruiting and portal gets, a billionaire booster, and ballooning expectations on the field. Here's head coach Joey McGuire from earlier today at Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas.
Yeah, it's been a fun off season. We were really aggressive whenever it came to the portal and meeting some of our needs. I know there's a lot of expectations on the team. We look at it as opportunities. Jack Richards, a good friend of mine, went to Texas Tech. Son played at Texas Tech, and he sent me that text. He says, expectation or opportunities, it's all perspective. And we look at it that we have a great opportunity. I think this conference is really strong. There's a lot of teams that have some big opportunities this year to really make a statement, and we're planning on being one of them.
Let's bring in Jarret Johnson, who's at Media Days, and Chip Patterson of the Cover 3 podcast joining us here. So we've got Cover 3 and 24/7 Sports dialed in on HQ Spotlight. JJ, I'm going to give you first word. Again, you are there. Give us the landscape of how the vibe is surrounding Texas Tech this year at Media Days.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on. But the vibe is basically Texas Tech has put all the chips in the middle of the table. I know it's a cliche, but I don't know how else to say it. It's boom or bust for Texas Tech. It's go to the Big 12 championship and probably win it or bust with all the money they've spent in the transfer portal. And that's, as Joey McGuire, the clip we just saw, stated earlier, you know, pressure, opportunity, whatever you want to call it. But Texas Tech has literally invested a lot in winning a Big 12 championship this season. So there is a lot of pressure. There is a great opportunity, and that will create a lot of drama in Lubbock. And you can kind of feel that it's palpable here at Media Day here in Frisco, Texas.
Yeah, they recently got like a 5-star guy, so the recruiting trail is also buzzing there. Jarret, but again, remind us to the uninitiated with Texas Tech of what they've done recently to get to this point. You mentioned the money. I mentioned the billionaire booster. Expectations are sky high. So what are some of the big check marks that have gotten us to this point, or those expectations for the Red Raiders are so high?
Well, first off, they addressed their biggest need areas from last year, what kept them from winning big games. Specifically, it's been a running dialogue with Coach McGuire and I in terms of improving the offensive line, which at big moments, whether it be 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 10 even, those big 3rd down conversions against top teams where Tech hasn't been able to hold up along the offensive line. And then no pass rush last year. They've significantly addressed that with a couple of guys I think we'll talk about later, and not to mention just a much improved defensive line. And then the secondary has been totally remade. So all of that, and then in terms of just overall, 22 transfers, and most of them, I think 12 or 13 of them were considered 4-star transfer recruits, were signed this offseason for, I believe, the number 2 overall transfer class in the country, according to 247 Sports.
Yeah, Jarret, I'm just going to pick up where you left off there, because, Tommy, how we got here is when they started playing in different ball fields, when they started going toe-to-toe on the trail for portal additions or high school recruits with top-tier recruiting blue bloods even, you know, beating out Michigan for a 5-star offensive tackle. Those are the kinds of things that are going to make everyone's eyes go up, because you can jump to the top of the Big 12 recruiting rankings with just a few main additions. But when, for example, in this last spring portal cycle, you had David Bailey. He leaves Stanford. He's going to be in the NFL as a pass rusher one day. He is on campus at Texas in Austin, and yet he ends up committing to Texas Tech. When you're just, that's not a shot across the bow. That is just being a wrecking ball on the recruiting trail. So whether it's high school, whether it's out of the portal, that's how we got here, when all of a sudden Texas Tech wasn't just pulling in any collection of 21 guys. It was 21 guys, many of whom other big-time programs wanted. That is when we start to say, okay, you are starting to play a different game. This is now when we start to expect you to level up on the field. If you are beating out college football playoff contenders for players, then we expect you, Texas Tech, to be a college football playoff contender.
Chip, let me follow up with that, because we've seen recent instances. I would bring up Texas A&M in terms of fan bases and programs with deep pockets and big boosters. I mean, Is this an unrealistic expectation to have a jump this quickly, given everything they've done on paper? It seems like is fine, but then you cover the sport week to week from a national perspective of, man, they've got to hit this mark because they've done all of this.
Well, I don't know if Jarret would agree with me here, but I think they left some meat on the bone. I think there have been a couple games these last couple seasons where you could have been flirting with that 10-win sort of breakthrough moment. You could have been a little bit more in the hunt for the Big 12 title than you really were. I don't think it's unrealistic expectations at all. I mean, it is the Big 12, the team that was picked 16th in the preseason poll last year did end up winning the league and going to the college football playoff. But in the investment in Joey McGuire, which goes all the way back to his hire, which goes all the way back to the connections that he has throughout the state of Texas, has always said, no, this is going to be something different. We are not going to be a transient program. This is not going to be the same thing we saw with Tommy Tuberville. This is not going to be the same thing that we saw with Cliff Kingsbury. This is going to be a real opportunity for somebody to put down roots and build a program with lasting ability. And that's why I think after the last couple of years where, again, to my eyes, there was maybe a game or two that got away that they should have had. Now it's time where you need to really make the jump.
What do you think, Jarret?
Yeah, to add to what Chip just said, you know, McGuire really feels like they need that breakout season like he had at Cedar Hill High School in the DFW area, which led to 3 state championships at the highest classification. Once they broke through with the really strong season, they got the program going and just kept building upon that. That's what he wants to recreate at Texas Tech, which is why the investment has been made. And yeah, like Chip said, in terms of being just a play away here or there, I mean, that is college football. And like Texas Tech, if they beat TCU instead of blowing a 17-point second half lead, I mean, the whole Big 12 landscape may have looked different for the Red Raiders, but they didn't. They lost. And you know, obviously now they're looking to right some of those wrongs and have that breakout season.
All right, at Media Days, it's always prediction season, preseason polls, and all the like there, Chip. You've combed through the Red Raiders schedule. How well do they do this year, and how much does Baron Morton there lead the way?
You know, I don't love my prediction, but my prediction is my prediction, Tommy. So I've got them taking a couple losses along the way, some of which because they've got some really, really tough road tests. I'm going to have them losing against a Utah team that I absolutely expect to bounce back in a major way, especially with Devin Dampier and the change in offense. I think that Arizona State will remain the class of the conference. And then I've got Kansas State as well as a loss. So now all of a sudden, I'm looking at the rest of these, and they are going to be heavy favorites in all their non-conference games and more than half of their conference games. But I'm going to hand them the loss with BYU just in a tricky scheduling quirk. The way that it falls in the second half of the season, I think the Cougars, with the way they are set up defensively, might have the answers to the riddle to be able to slow down Texas Tech. But we're talking about 8-4, 9-3. I'll lean to the 8-4 side, which might have them in the Big 12 title race. But ultimately, my prediction is does not make the college football playoff.
All right, I think their win total is right at 8.5, so that hook will certainly matter. Chip, Jarret, certainly appreciate it. Make sure to check out Jarret's stuff at 247sports.com. Let's wrap things up with odds to win the Big 12. Texas Tech right there, plus 650 with Baylor tied for third behind the co-favorites, all at 6-1. K-State, Utah, and Pete Prisco's Sun Devils.